It's election day. No matter who wins tonight's election, they better be ready to roll up their sleeves tomorrow. We are only 7 weeks from the so-called fiscal cliff, and this is serious business. $7 trillion worth of automatic spending cuts and tax increases over 10 years. They'll kick in. If nothing is done, the mandated federal spending cuts will kick in at the beginning of the year, which experts say will likely push us into a new recession and could also send the stock market into a tailspin. Stu Varney is the host of Varney and Company over on the Fox Business Network, and he's with me now. Stu, this is so important that President Obama, when he was asked about it at the debate, said it's not going to happen. And that came as news to everybody because it is going to happen unless lawmakers act and the president signs a new law changing things. As a practical matter, though, they can't let it happen, can they?
You're right. As a practical matter, they can't let it happen because the consequences will be disastrous. And you are also right in that the fiscal cliff is the big immediate problem. But with respect, I would suggest there are other problems over the longer haul which we are in an economic crisis. Think of it. You've got very, very slow economic growth. 3.5 years after a recession ended. That's very bad. You've got no confidence in the business community that growth is going to pick up in the future. You've got the accumulation of an extra $1 trillion every year added to our debt as far as the eye can see. And you've got this fiscal cliff. You add all that lot up together, and you've got the next administration, whomsoever it is, faces a financial economic crisis, and they've got to act and act quickly.
What is the likelihood that if President Obama wins a second term, he's going to go in there? It looks like the Republicans are likely to keep the House. The Democrats are likely to keep the Senate. So we'll have, no matter who wins, we're going to have divided government. But what is the likelihood that these politicians are going to do any better in reaching a deal that they've now twice failed to reach?
If President Obama wins today, takes the White House for a second term, and the Democrats keep a small lead in the Senate, the theory is that the president will be forced to compromise because he has no serious mandate. He didn't win by 10 points. He might win by 1 or 2 points. He has no mandate. Therefore, he will compromise on this fiscal cliff. But he has not compromised in the past. After the disastrous losses in 2010, he did not change course. He kept on exactly the same course. No compromise.
But then he was still facing re-election. And there's a real question about who President Obama will be if he wins re-election and doesn't have to face another re-election. Will he? Many people believe he's farther to the left than he's actually governed, and that's the person we'll see. Many people believe that we'll see a more moderate President Obama than we've seen.
If you're asking my opinion, this president wants to be a transformational president. He wants to transform American society. He will not change course. He's embarked on that course in the first 4 years. He'll stick to it in the second 4 years if he wins re-election. But, Megyn, I've got to tell you, the key to the whole thing, unwinding this crisis, is growth. If you can grow this economy 4, 5, 6%, as we did after the last bad recession, you ease all of the problems that we now face.
Yeah, revenues go way up. People pay more in taxes naturally, and so on.
The employment situation, the housing situation, the growth situation, everything changes if you've got 4, 5, 6% growth. Who will give us the best growth?
Growth would be nice around everything but the waistline. Thank you, Stuart.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
This has been our 12 versus